Hi, everybody. Welcome to my show. This is Andrea with From Mrs. to Ms. I'm being joined by a special guest today that is near and dear to my heart. I've known him for many, many years. He's been a big part of our family with my kids, with Hunter and Grant, especially with Grant. And so I'd like to welcome Jonathan George. Jonathan, how are you?
Good. It's great to be here. Great to see you. And I love that, your family just knocks it out with the entertainment. Like everybody's just entertainers. They're people in the front. I mean, it's
So
just a bunch of superstars. I love it.
Oh, thank you. And you would know better than anybody. You've been with around for us for a long time, and we've seen each other kind of going through these years and the phases, and you're doing amazing. We were just talking about the kids that are doing amazing. I love it. I love it that it's coming full circle that we're having this conversation today. So let me tell the audience a little bit about you. So Jonathan George's journey to success began at just 4 years old. That is crazy. When he stepped up to sing in church, forgot the lyrics to Jesus Loves Me, and confidently belted out Hound Dog instead. What a great story. Uh,
Hound Dog.
I love it. I love it. So that fearless love for performing set the stage for his future. At 26, Jonathan was named grand champion winner on Ed McMahon's Next Big Star. Oh my gosh, I remember that. And his dreams of a music career were within reach until the industry discovered he was gay. The record deal disappeared, leaving him feeling lost, unworthy, and questioning everything. Years of relentless bullying for being different, growing up as a preacher's son, and battling self-doubt had already taken their toll. But instead of letting the industry define him, Jonathan chose to take control of his own story. Determined to become the kind of mentor he wished he had had, Jonathan founded JG Entertainment. For over 2 decades, he has helped individuals uncover their unique gifts, embrace their authenticity, and build powerful personal brands. Originally working with young celebrities, he expanded his expertise to CEOs, best-selling authors, and major brands. His clients now amass over 150 million online followers, using their platforms to create lasting impact. Jonathan is also the creator of Unleash Your Rockstar, we're going to talk about today, a movement designed to help people step into their power, own their greatness, and confidently show up in the world. He believes the depth of your goals dictates the depth of your brand, and it all starts with embracing who you truly are. Wow. Oh my
Podcast
gosh.
is over. We can go home. Thank
We're
you.
done. You nailed this thing, man.
Great job. Thank you. All right. I'm good. Not just
I
travel
love
everywhere with you, Andrea.
it.
You can handle all that.
Yeah, I'll just leave. Everywhere we go, I'm just going to leave the conversation with all of that. And we go,
Yeah.
he started when he was 4 years old singing
I,
Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog. What
I
a
love
story and what a journey. Oh my gosh, to go from 4 years old, starting out that way, to getting to here. Tell me, how did this all begin? Like, what transpired you in your life that led you to start this brand, Unleash Your Rockstar, and kind of go from the little 4-year-old kid to where you are now?
Well, I mean, I moved to LA, like you were talking about. I moved there to be a singer-songwriter. And when I lost my record deal, I went through, my team tried to get me married. They tried to change my music, try to change everything about me. So, I'm just naturally a born confident, extroverted person, always loved people. But it did something so deep to me. And I was like, I'm strong. I can handle this. I can do this. But anxiety hit, suicidal thoughts hit, depression hit. I didn't understand who I was. It didn't matter the accolades, the talents, the abilities, the gifts. It didn't matter anything. I had a major identity crisis. And it wasn't a sexual identity crisis. It's like, who is Jonathan George? You know what I mean? It's like, why
Yeah.
can't I just be the guy with the talent, the abilities?
Yes.
And why does it have to go around? Why does my entire life, I don't put it in anybody's face. Why does the gay thing have to come up? That's just a portion of who I am, right? It doesn't matter who that doesn't define who I am. And so, I had to struggle. I really just struggled with understanding who I am. And I gave up singing. That was the hard part. But I said, I didn't know who I was, but I wasn't going to lie to the world.
Yeah.
And I just was like, that just sounds like a miserable life. And so what I did was I really set into, I was like, a little bit of rebelliousness came up. And I was like, I'm going to fight for me. I'm gonna
Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna fight all these punks here trying to change me. Like,
Right.
I had rebelliousness kind of set in, and I started on a personal development
Yeah.
journey of trying to self-discovery and really understanding who I am, what fulfills me, what makes me happy. And so then I just started developing all these recording artists. I have a music degree, music education. I was like, I can just teach these kids private voice. And it was one thing after another that I started creating all these young superstars in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And it was my desire, my own creativity, but my desire to watch people rock their authentic selves rather than change them and make them different from something than they were. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to change that. I wanted to bring that thing out even more and showcase it to the world. Let it be.
Yeah.
Right? This is
Yeah.
what we love. And I was like, why didn't I ever have this opportunity? Why didn't I have this somebody like me to be able to step into somebody's life and say,
Mhm.
this are all the great things I see about you. Let's showcase this and let's present it this way.
Mm.
And so, granted, I am a, my whole family is long lineage of singers, musicians, pastors. So everybody's been on stage. I understood personal branding at a young age. My dad would say, share your testimony. That's your story, right?
Yeah.
So there was always these components that I already understood growing up.
Yeah.
So when I started working with musicians, I was like, well, hey, I've been booking myself across the United States, singing at churches my entire life. Because, I came out of church, I came out of ministry.
Mhm.
And so I just applied everything that I knew,
Mhm.
and it just took off and it just
Wow.
worked. And so, but here's the thing is that my story may not sound just like yours or
Yeah.
somebody who's listening right now. What we all have in common is we know what it feels like to not feel good enough, to not feel seen, heard, or valued.
Mhm.
And it has become my goal to make sure that people realize the rock star that's already inside of them. It just needs the tools and permission to be released and unleashed onto the world. Because here's the thing, is that if you're not stepping into your power, your gifts, your abilities,
Yep.
you're not just doing yourself a disservice, you're robbing me of my blessings.
Oh, I love that. I love how you just said that. And, going back to kind of what you said is like, why didn't you have somebody there for you? So what age were you at when you did the Ed McMahon?
I was
They started
26.
him. Oh,
Yeah,
that was
just
at 26. Okay.
mhm.
Wow. Wow.
And I was out in LA performing full time, I was doing nothing but, working at Disney, doing TV shows, doing
Yeah.
commercials, doing all the things entertainment. Like, I just
Yeah.
loved all of that. But I fell in love with developing people,
Yeah.
building personal brands. And so, even though here's the catch though, is that what I learned quickly was that I was developing people off of their talent,
Mm-hmm.
right? It
Mm-hmm.
felt good. It felt right. This is what we all knew to do. And what I realized is that take a kid who is 15,
Mm-hmm.
well, you develop them really well. And by 18, 19, they're like, I want to go to school,
Mm-hmm.
or I want to go do this over here. And all of a sudden, they started having identity crisis.
Mm.
And I was like, I am doing this all wrong.
Yeah.
And so when you build out a personal brand, your personal brand is not your doings. It's not the podcaster. It's not the mom. It's not all of these other things that we are busy doing in life. Our personal branding is our being, right? It's the being versus the doing. We are human beings, not human doings. And so once I realized this, I was like, oh, I owe a lot of people apologies. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, I didn't. But then once I realized that, then I was able to unlock a system that built the person first and then built the talent second.
Yes.
Because if you build the being correctly, then it becomes the foundation of all of your doings. It is what makes you successful in all of those doings. And so this is where I came up with Unleash Your Rockstar. And I finally left the entertainment world about I don't know, I guess it's going on 6 years or something like that. I don't even know at this point. But then I started working with CEOs. I started working with Fortune 500 companies. I started working with top entrepreneurs, coaching their people, building out personal brands.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is that a personal brand, most people think that's a logo, that is a font, a website. It's designed for people who are, trying to be a celebrity brand of some sort. Every single one of us has a personal brand. You have to be intentional about it. It is, you got to think about your personal brand isn't just about you. It's also about how others experience you. And if you can, the world is screaming, be you, you're like, that's exciting. That sounds super sexy. Be you. But what does that mean if you don't know who you are?
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And so my goal is to help you understand who you are at your foundation so that you can step into any role, any place, any facet of life. And Andrea stands up and is always Andrea in every one of those. You don't second guess who you are. You don't second guess your inner talents, your inner gifts and abilities. You don't second guess or hold fear because of your what I call your flaws.
Yeah.
Your flaws, and you can still be what I call a flock star, right? And still be a rock star in life. And so, if you know all of these things about yourself that are like in my book, if you can build out your personal brand, it changes you from seeing yourself like I don't know if you've ever poured out a puzzle box onto the kitchen table.
Doing a
It's
puzzle
just
right
all
now.
these pieces, right?
Yeah.
Well, what's the first thing you do is you look at a picture box.
Yep.
You look at the photo that's on there. What are we building?
Yep.
Well, personal development, I feel like, is those pieces without the box cover. So you have all this personal development. You're like, yeah, I know this about myself. I know this about myself. I know this about myself. But how do we put all of these things together in a cohesive package in a way that it all works streamlined and easy? I don't believe that personal development should take years.
Yeah.
I feel like it's something that happens very quickly if you have the right tools. So for me, personal branding is that cover of that puzzle box. And so it is putting all the pieces together in a personal brand that you can step into the world powerfully with confidence, knowing your identity, even when you may have insecurities, still know powerfully how you're going to step out into the world.
I love that. And I love the metaphor you used of a puzzle, because that is so true. And what we do look at first. So putting it out there and just seeing what becomes of it. And I can't imagine what it was like for you going through that. Gosh, that doesn't seem that long ago. I don't know exactly your age now, but 26 doesn't even seem that far, that long ago for us to be in a world where it was so unacceptable for you to be who you were. That's unreal to me. And
that was
really how far we've come.
2001. So things were different back then, right?
Yeah.
And even with it being different now, it still can be, those kind of things there still can be hot topics or whatever. But, here's the thing, Andrea, is that, your whole thing is about becoming from Miss to Ms., right? Like, and
finding yourself.
And finding yourself and redefining even through all of those things, right? We're always going to be trying to uncover ourselves after experiences, after, your kids graduate. Who are you now?
Yes.
Right? You're doing things now that you couldn't do back then because you're raising kids. So we're always going to be creating. We're always going to be making something. But if we know who we are in every instance, we can surpass so many of those roadblocks, the insecurities, the fears that are going to hold us back. Because, one of the things is that I hear a lot of people, because I deal with people, there's always the excuses of, oh, it's my race, or, oh, it's my sexual orientation. Oh, it's because I'm a woman. There will always be somebody out in the world that wants to put their thumb in your back. But as soon as you can break through the chains that are holding you back and take ownership of who you are and stand in your power, it is amazing how all those chains and all of the jail cells that I kept myself in, because every room I walked in, people were talking about me negatively. I thought people were whispering things about me. I thought, because I came from church and I was a music minister, and so I was a singer. I was coming from a great family of pastors, and so I always thought people were. Nobody was whispering about me. People only cared how I made them feel.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
all they cared about, is how did Jonathan make me feel?
Yeah.
And like as soon as I realized that, I broke out of those chains.
Ooh.
I broke out of the jail cell that was holding me back.
Yeah.
Stuff that was in my mind. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's homophobic people. Of course, there's racist people. Of course,
Always
there are
will be.
always somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But those people don't have any control, and they're this big.
Mm-hmm.
But if you allow all of that, it becomes this big.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about taking ownership of who you are, so you can powerfully step out into the world.
I like that a lot. And so that's what I was going to ask you, because you really talk about the importance of embracing who you truly are. So I was going to ask you, like, what are some practical ways that people can start showing up as their most authentic self? What kinds of things can they do in both, I guess, their personal and their professional lives? Like, where do they even begin? They're listening to this and they're like, I feel this. I feel him, what he's telling me. What's my first step?
Well, I will tell you that so in the book, there's 5 pillars of your personal brand. That's the head of the brand.
Mm-hmm.
That is who you are at your core. There's the face of the brand. That's what you present to the world, right? As your brand identity. Then you've got the heart of the brand.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you show up in the world, right? It's your brand.
You
Then you've
feel
got
it.
the core of your brand. This is your brand energy, and this is how you show up in the world. And then you've got your feet of your brand, and that's where you're going in the world, right?
Oh, I like that.
That's the brand strategies. So everything that I teach is applicable from your personal and your professional lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you can just apply it to everything.
Yeah, mirror image.
But the first thing that has to start is your mindset. To know that you are more than enough just as you are. And, we had this conversation. In my book, I talk about the Britney versus Christina syndrome.
Yes.
Everybody thinks that they need to have the vocal abilities of Christina Aguilera. And, and I was telling you that it's like I just came across this whole thing of anybody who loves Ariana Grande or, Selena Gomez.
Yeah.
But, if you think that you have to be the superior talent,
yeah,
that is not the case. Selena Gomez is what I call mediocre talent.
Mm-hmm.
It's average talent.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who can out-sing, out-act. They might outlook even. But people love Selena Gomez because of who she is.
Yep.
And according to this, her worth is $1.3 billion.
Unreal.
Compared to Ariana, $230 million. That is a massive gap.
Yeah.
And people would think Ariana Grande's got the #1 hit song. She's got the big, massive tours. She's got all the things.
Movie that she did. Yeah.
Movie. Of course, Selena has these things too, but
yeah,
it's just really amazing that what mediocre talent can do when you understand your ability, you understand your place, you understand that you are more than enough just as you are. It is a mindset that has to change. So why can't you be the Selena Gomez of the world? And I will tell you, I've got so many talented artists that you've seen on America's Got Talent, American Idol, The Voice, all these young, talented, the best singers in the planet. But they're not the ones who rise to the top.
Nope.
It's the people who know exactly who they are and how they're showing up, why they're showing up. It's not about the talent. I always say success is 20% talent. The other 80% is how you develop and brand that talent to shine.
Interesting. And do you think setting your mind in a certain way, shifting it to feel that way, to feel authentic, is that the hardest part? I think that would be the hardest part, right?
Yep.
The first step.
But here's the thing is that I've got things in the book that even in that difficult moment, those difficult times of understanding who you are, if you will follow these basic things, it's unbelievable how quickly you start knocking through those mindsets. You can, because it's like because clarity is the most important thing that you can have about yourself. That's the head of the brand. I start here. Number one, understanding you are more than enough, but then understand who you are at your core. Like understand like what drives you, what your belief systems are, what who you're surrounding yourself with, what your core, what I call your core talents. Got core values, you got core talents. I'm not talking about, oh, you can sing incredibly well. That's an external talent.
Okay.
I'm talking about the core talent that's going to make that singing shine. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got core flaws. Flaws that you're born with. You can look at a baby, look at your two boys. You got two boys. One of them might just give their candy away to everybody, just giving. That would be a core talent.
Yeah.
Whereas one is like, no, that's mine. I don't want anybody touching it. That's a core flaw.
Yeah.
Right? That's a selfish
I
thing.
easily know which one is which in my
Right?
kids.
You understand what I'm saying is that we
Yes.
have things that we're just naturally we have to fight against, or if we lean into it, it's what's going to make us successful.
And
I
it's
watched a video.
believing it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you can learn those things and you're like, oh, this is who I am, then every situation you walk into, even if you feel insecure, like, I don't really know, it's like, well, let me lead with these things. Because these core talents are going to help me be successful.
Yeah.
And it's really funny. I was watching Adele give a speech, and she was like, she's like, singing isn't what made me successful. It wasn't the songs that, great songs make you successful, but nobody's going to continue listening to you if we don't like you. It's like, it's who I am.
Yeah.
It was the training that I had. It was how I show up in a room, and I love people and care about people.
Yeah.
It's about how, you look at it as her humor. She can get on stage. She makes us all giggle and laugh.
Yeah.
And then she sings a song that you're just like, oh my God, she's amazing.
She's so good.
So, and then you can look at other artists that are out there that are losing their careers because people do not like them.
We were just talking about that.
That's your personal brand, right? It doesn't matter how talented or big your show is, or how exciting it is, or how talented of the actor or dancer or singer you are. If people don't like you, they don't stay with you.
Yeah.
That's the difference between, excuse me, the being versus the doing.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And so if we focus on that being, it becomes the focus. So that's the first thing that you have to do. And, one of the other things, if you're dealing with insecurity, even if you've done this work and you're like, I still don't understand who I am, I don't understand how to show up. If you will focus on other people, that will help you get to the other side quicker. This is what I call your brand hook. Okay. So as a songwriter, I mean, your kids are both musicians.
Yep.
I wrote many, many songs. I'm an award-winning songwriter, and the most important part of the song is the hook. The hook is what we walk away singing. We may not know the verse, but we will know the chorus. We either crank it up, or we turn it off, or we skip it, right? We either hit the dance floor, or it brings emotions, or we're like, oh, this song makes me so mad or angry, right?
Yes.
We all have a brand hook. So if you will focus on 5 things of how you want somebody to feel when they encounter you, and be intentional about that. Like for me, I want you to feel seen, heard, and valued. When you leave my presence, I want you to feel empowered and like, oh, I can do anything, right? Yours may be to feel laughter and joy, feel lighter. There's not a wrong thing here. You just need to be intentional about how you want to show up and make people feel. So what happens is, if I'm feeling insecure and I walk into a room of people and I say, Jonathan, okay, I want people to feel seen, heard, and valued. Well, then all of a sudden I quit focusing on me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I focus on you and make you feel like the queen. I can make you feel amazing.
Yeah.
And what that does is that I can see you light up. I can see you feel great. I'm going to turn the notifications on my phone, because so, when you think about, you shift that energy and you're feeling great. Well, what does that do to me? it makes me feel
Feel
good.
good. Yeah.
It makes me
Yeah.
feel like being purposeful.
Yeah.
I'm adding value. Then that shoots up my happiness and my
Mm-hmm.
fulfillment, and it
Mm-hmm.
also creates more what? Confidence.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing sexier than confidence in this
Yes.
world. So if you are finding yourself in a position where you're insecure about something, think about your brand hook.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm.
changes everything because when I leave the room, I can't control how you feel
Yeah.
about me. I can't control that. But what I can control is my intentions when I walk into that room.
Mm.
I'm not going to allow my insecurities to lead into that room.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have my brand hook lead, my energy lead.
Mm.
And
Beautiful.
how I'm going to leave that room, I want it better than when I walked in.
Yeah.
And so if you can change that mentality, it will change how people experience you and then how you feel about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's a cycle and it's
It
very powerful
is.
and it is so easy.
It seems so easy.
I'm
Seems so
serious.
easy, yet the hardest thing, like you said, and everybody wants it. They all want to feel seen and heard, and especially in relationships with, by their partner. That's one of the biggest things is I just don't feel seen by him or her. I don't feel that way. Like they actually know me for who I am. But you're also saying you have to know that about yourself. I need to see myself. I need to hear myself before anybody else is even going to do that for me.
Well, but here's the thing is that a lot of times we struggle with seeing ourselves. It's like
Mhm.
I can see you
Mhm.
and I can build your personal brand out.
Yeah.
Like I could build what I do is how I do this is I build out you, Andrea, like as a person first, and then we put that into the podcasting or
Mhm.
the acting, or we put that into all of these different components of your life, right?
Right.
To drive those things, but those are doings. And it can
Mhm.
change tomorrow. You'd be like, you know what? I'm going to open a jewelry line or a clothing line. You're like, okay, let's go.
Let's
Well,
do
then
it.
we're going to build you into that, build the story of your life into that while we're
Yeah.
driving that, right? But in that situation, I was just meeting with a client today. She's like, Jonathan, and we coach together. We coach some of the biggest entrepreneurs in the country on their talks, on their signature talks. They go out and speak.
Yeah.
She goes, we teach all these people, but I can't do it for myself. I said, I couldn't do it for myself. I,
Mhm.
I couldn't do it for myself. Like,
Right.
it's just, we're too close.
Yeah.
So this is why it's great to be with somebody who does see you. There are ways to
Mm.
do it, even if you can't afford a coach or you can't afford someone. There are ways to do it. And in my book, there's a workbook that goes along with it that you can actually learn how to ask the right questions to people to get the answers that you're needing. Because
Mm.
feedback is so important, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
you can be like, and it breaks it down. Okay, ask this person 5 things that they see about me, or ask this person, somebody who doesn't know me, but sort of knows me from work, or,
Yeah.
hey, what's the energy that you feel about me? Right. And they give you some notes
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's just great ways. And it's like, what do you do with that information once you get it? Right. And
Yes.
it's like, how do you move it and funnel it through to apply it to yourself? Not just, oh, I learned this about myself. Oh, what do we do with this?
Yes. That's the
Right.
next step.
And
Yeah.
so it helps you really identify the things that are going to propel you as well as the things that are going to hold you back.
Mm.
You can understand those and take ownership of them. You're going to be much more successful.
Huge. Yeah. And we're going to talk more about your book. I know we've mentioned a little bit. We're going to talk more about that as we go on. But I was, perusing your website and your Instagram and all that fun stuff. It's so good to look at. And you stated on your website that 70% of entrepreneurs and leaders experience imposter syndrome. That and what that means is that they're struggling with self-confidence, they're comparing their journey to others, they're doubting their gifts and
Yeah.
feeling like a fraud, right? So how can people overcome these challenges and truly step into their true potential and stop feeling like, I think we all do it. I'm constantly doing that, and especially with social media, we're always like, oh,
Yep.
look what they have or look what they're doing. And they have this many followers. And, we're constantly feeling like we are behind on every step. So
Every, yeah.
every step, every
Well,
step.
let me just back this up that according to psychology today, over 85% of people struggle with low self-esteem.
Mm. Wow.
So if we're struggling with low self-esteem,
Yeah.
what's going to happen when we step into any situation, right?
Yeah.
That lack of confidence, and that all only comes from the lack of knowing who you are,
Mhm.
right? Who you don't
Mhm.
know your personal brand. You don't know who Jonathan George is. Well, then I can't really go out to the world confidently, right?
Yeah.
And so we have view our what our parents may look at us, or a teacher says to us, or other students say to us, and it's all of this noise, and we're not sure what to do. And then we get onto social media with some kind of idea, and then, like you said, we start comparing ourselves to
Mhm.
perfectly curated social media posts.
Mhm.
I was watching this guy uncover all of these different like bodybuilders,
Yeah.
how they would manipulate their like photos to even be better than their bodies already are. And you're just
What?
like it couldn't get any better. So why are you doing that? But then you've got people comparing themselves to
Yes.
that perfectly curated thing that is not even true.
Mhm.
And you look at it, it's like nobody knows your struggle. Nobody knows what it took to get to where you are. Nobody
Mhm.
knows the tears. Nobody understands the actions that you had to take, the
Mhm.
the hours that you had to give up on family time,
Mhm.
or you missed how many dinners to work. Nobody understands those things. And so what happens, but we judge ourselves to their success,
Mhm.
not to their challenges.
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
Right. And so
Interesting.
that's where we fall into a lot of problems, is that we start comparing ourselves to people. And so you get all of these people when they stand up, these leaders, entrepreneurs, they fall flat on their face because they
Mhm.
start comparing themselves, and I'm not good enough.
Mm.
They didn't deal with the junk in their past. On I call it the rock star path.
Eh,
So the rock star path is that you got to think is that uh, you're where you are right now is the present moment, right?
okay.
The things that you're doing.
Mhm.
Then you've got over here, you've got your future,
Mhm.
that's your dreams, that's the things that you're aspiring to reach in your life. And right in the middle is the roadblocks.
Mm.
And the roadblocks are the things that are going to keep you from getting from point A to point Z. And
Mhm.
those roadblocks show up as fears, insecurities, trauma, things in our life that create us from ever feeling like we're good enough, no matter how hard we show up. And for me, it's really funny. I didn't feel good enough. And so I pushed so hard. My natural ability is I'm an overachiever,
Yeah.
right? I'm an overachiever by nature.
Yes.
Excited about life. I'm curious, so I want to learn everything. And then I have this way to be able to understand it and then turn it around and apply it.
It's
Right. So
amazing.
those are my natural gifts.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why everybody's like, how do you know how to do all these things? I don't know. It's just that's who Jonathan George is. I don't know. That's just how God designed me. I don't know.
Right.
I didn't ask for that, but that's just who I am. But if it's met with insecurity, then I had to prove my worth through achieving things,
Yeah.
right? And
So you
then
have
it
something to tie
always,
into? Is that
yeah,
kind of
I had to
yeah.
prove to you that I was good enough.
Mhm.
And it wasn't just my letting my nature be. It was
Mhm.
so when you tie it to the trauma and the fears or the insecurities from the past,
Mhm.
then your gifts become your worst nightmare.
Mm.
Think about
Yeah.
it. The
Yeah.
things that you're the most gifted or talented with, you're kind. You might be
Mhm.
a very empathetic person. That
Mhm.
is a gift.
Mhm.
Not everybody's born with empathy. We
Yes.
see it every day. But if it's met with insecurity, then you feel like, oh, I have to keep giving and have to keep giving to feel love or to feel good enough about myself.
Mm.
What happens is that you just become drained and exhausted and burned out.
Mm.
Your adrenals just start burning out. The anxiety hits. Then you start feeling depressed. Then you're angry at the world because everybody's taking advantage of you.
Mhm.
Rather than saying, hey, this is my gift. I'm going to guard it. I'm going to protect it.
Mhm.
It's not going to be met with, but people don't realize how that all ties together. So like one of my big things is if you can see point A, how it ties to point D,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I already
No.
see that. So I'm going to move around it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my point for I want people to, because I've trauma, working through life, all of those things, it's an ongoing process because we always going through something. We're always going to experience a hardship. My
Yeah.
dad passed, I got anxiety.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, where did that come from? I've never had anxiety like this. I mean, when I had anxiety when I was going through things was one thing, but this
Mm-hmm.
anxiety was crippling anxiety,
Mm.
right? Like it was a different kind of anxiety. It just was like, you know,
Yeah.
and so,
How did you get through that? How did you push
well,
through the anxiety there?